Hey everybody, welcome to Friday. Hope you've had a great week of cycling and that you're staying safe on this Friday the 13th. Alrighty, yeah, apologies, I still haven't had the time to do, I guess, a bit of a deeper type video. I plan to do a video on, I guess, going through the chain prep guide, so how to prep chains at home via the methods recommended in the guide, just to do that on video, as well as the chain maintenance guide. So the main options to easily maintain your chain to be awesome, whether you're immersive waxing or wax strip or wet lube. So that'll be something I'll look to do just a little bit down the track. Things have just been, really flat out on pretty much all fronts. And starting shortly, my awesome retail manager Andrew is about to go on a couple of weeks leave. So I'm going to be really under the pump the next couple of weeks. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to get a video out the next couple of weeks. It'll just depend how on top of things I am by the Friday, because I need to be on top of the inbox and people who've actually paid for stuff to get their stuff nice and snappily, and as well as trying to stay on top of my role in the testing side, which is just absolutely pumping along at the moment. Just things like admin and stock keeping on coming in to replace stock going out is always a bit of a fun time. After Andrew gets back, I'll be taking a couple of weeks leave myself. So I usually try to take 1 to 2 weeks when it's school holidays, so I get some playtime with whilst Mini-Me's off. So next couple of weeks, hopefully a video, and then it'll probably not be whilst I'm on leave unless something dramatic comes up. Just while I'm here, I did a sort of a test record just before. There seems to be some distortion coming in and out a bit with the mic, for which I'm not sure what's going on. So apologies if sometimes some of the clips today are a bit distorted rather than just being nice and hopefully generally awesome. But I'm not entirely sure why that's sort of creeping in at the moment. I'll see if I can nut it out, but otherwise, apologies on behalf of technology and how stuff works. Alright, so today I'm just going to go a little bit deeper into a couple of updates on things that have sort of been on the go for a little bit, just to make sure that's sort of covered off where we're at better before I'm potentially off YouTube for a bit of a span. As well as, just preempt the next couple of weeks if I do get to a vid. Again, I won't have any prep time, but what I've been doing is saving some great questions and comments that have come through over time, so that I can just do some quick Q&A vids, which are easy for me just to sort of really rip through a few top questions or thoughts on some topics, and just keep the fun ball rolling and keep the good fun chats going, re all things low friction in this space. So but that'll probably be that's basically today, and what will likely be the next couple of weeks coming up. And hope they will still be of interest and knowledge and entertainment for you. But otherwise, I will get cracking on some of the deeper stuff I want to get to as soon as I can when I'm back from leave and on top of some things. Alrighty, quick updates on stuff that we've sort of got on the go and will hopefully get to the bottom of one day. Firstly, we've got, a quick one on Finish Line Halo. Sadly, still no response back from them on my last couple of checks in with them. If you may recall, after the rather horrific test results, they did want to have a chat with me about the zero friction cycling testing, because they had some questions and concerns, of which I'd be, obviously more than happy to take them through all of that. But that hasn't happened, and the last couple of emails to say, hey, when are we having this call? No answer. So I'll keep setting reminders, because it doesn't take long to do that, but I am concerned I'm no longer on their list of people to speak to. But it would also be great to try to get more information from them about, where do they think it also went wrong with my testing, and more detail on what their own testing has been and what has that shown them. I know from the first chat that I had with them, they said that they do at least 4 ASTM standards testing of their lubricants. Now, if you've been following me for a little bit, you will know that I've always, I hold some concerns with just doing ASTM lubricant standards testing, because none of those tests really directly correlate that well to cycling use case. For instance, a common one is the Timken 4-ball test. So that is basically, it's using some ball bearings that are, they then have pressure apply. The load increases over time, but it's at 600 RPM. And I don't know of many cyclists, not even Chris Froome in his heyday, that do 600 cadence whilst they're cycling. And lubricants can certainly behave differently, obviously, at high RPM and potentially lower pressure loads than what we have in cycling, which is typically pretty low speed, but very high pressure loads. We have back some just initial information from the lab that we sent across the halo wax that I tested here. So they've run some of the initial tests. This is at Purdue, which is heavily used by a manufacturer, and they have the ability to test lubricants at quite a range of RPMs and loads. So much more so than, I guess, what has been the typical state of play for test facilities, where we're normally testing it around sort of somewhere between 90 to 100 cadence, and the default has been sort of 250 watts for a little while. They're able to test it, I believe, quite high cadences, coupled with quite low load, as well as quite high torque loads and lower cadences, and just overall higher outputs. I think they can test it up to 2000 watts. They're going to be sending me some, I believe, sort of graphed up data soon, which will be great. But just the preliminary report was that at really high cadence and really low load, halo was actually quite exceptional. So I guess if you were able to pedal at sort of Chris Froome and above, and at fairly low loads, finish line halo may actually not be bad. However, at sort of the medium and high torque, they reported that it was really bad, and they sort of put it into the category of products that have been of concern from my own testing before, such as some of the muck-offs and products like White Lightning. So not good areas to hang out with. So that's just, some, I guess, quick initial updates. And again, I just really want a lot more information from Finish Line as to, we will hopefully soon have some data that is sort of aligning with where I'm at on this is a sort of performance result of concern, as to what have they got that led them to believe that this was a really winning product. Have they done any things like field testing, which, a company of Finish Line's size and resources, aside from just relying on standards testing, none of those standards of which, correlate to what's actually happening when someone's pedaling their bicycle chain. Have they done any field testing, and what was the protocol, and how widespread was this? Because manufacturers can do really robust field testing. It is difficult. It is resource and cost intensive, because you need to prep chains with your product as well as key competitor products, get them to athletes in a team or local athletes that you've got a good networking with, give them the instructions on what they're to do. So when are they to re-lube or re-wax, get those chains back after 1,000 kilometers and check, measure them and inspect them and so on. And if, over time you get, 10 chains back with, being ridden with your products, and the wear rate is notably higher than your key competitor products, you've got a bit of a problem. If it's competing extremely well with key competitor products, that you've got some sort of robust testing that's validating other work that you've done. And you can also do this for, especially post long, harsh events. So things like, Leadville, Steamboat, and a lot of long gravel events, a lot of, long mountain bike events, especially. So where the lubricant's being tested by both the distance and the conditions, you basically give a whole bunch of athletes your chains prep with your product and competitor products, and check measure them at the end of the event and see how they've gone, as well as the rider observations. So manufacturers of the size and resources of Finish Line can do this kind of work, which is done by some other manufacturers that are really working hard to deliver great products. And it's often that type of work that is done before a lot of manufacturers then contact me to get their product tested through the very hard control test, because they're already really confident in how the product is going to go, especially when exposed to contamination. So, getting through the harsh blocks 2 and block 4, it really, really helps manufacturers when they've got a lot of data and experience already that their product is performing very well. So So a bit of a ramble, but yeah, I would love to know more about what Finish Line have done that told them this was a winning product to go to market with, and charge the prices that they're charging for it. Because at the end of the day, the test that I put it through here, it is just a bicycle chain running on a bicycle drivetrain at 250 watt load. Clean block 1 is not a harsh test, because 250 watt driven by a motor is easier than 250 watts being pedaled, because it doesn't have the very high peak load forces that come with pedaling at 250 watts versus smoothly being driven by the same torque. So for it to go that badly in just block 1 of being run on a smart trainer indoors, we've got a really big mismatch, and it's all quite a mystery until we can talk further. So that's where we're at the moment. Still working on getting more to do a retest for when I can fit that in, and yet we will update once I get more, the actual data and graph data from Purdue University on what they found from testing the wax I tested here and then sent over to them. Oh yeah, sorry, the last one. It took me a little bit to sort of ramble that out. I'll try to do better on this one. These one-take Fridays. All right, Srams 0.8% chain wear checker. Unfortunately, still no reply back from Sram on that, so also disappointing. I believe their plan is just to ignore this until it goes away. I don't think Sram have any way to defend the 0.8% wear recommendation mark, because simply that is too late. You will need a new cassette and quite potentially also new chain rings as well. And if not, you will have done some pretty good inroads into your existing chainring set by taking a chain to 0.8%. 0.5% has been the default recommendation for pretty much about a decade at least now, for very good reason, and that is to try to ensure that you can get your next chain onto your drivetrain without having any issues. And especially with the cost of higher tier cassettes, like second tier and up for a lot of systems, it's a really big expense. So, your chain is your most consumable part in your drivetrain, and it should be treated as such. So that 0.5% wear mark is really important to try to preserve the rest of your drivetrain components, which cost a lot more, for a very long life. I don't think there's any way to defend 0.8%. It's a pointless tool. It is too late by then. As I sort of covered initially, my belief is that I think due to the extreme longevity of SRAM's hard chrome treated chains, so typically their top couple of tiers of chains, they have a longevity treatment on them called hard chrome. It's very different to their, chain tiers below that, which can be quite fast wearing, like for instance, GX chains and Force Level do not have that. They wear, not Force Level, Rival Level, they wear much, much faster. So there's a huge difference. The hard chrome treated chains have such awesome wear lifespan that my belief is that, just simply due to the still extra tens of millions of interactions between roller and cassette teeth, that people replacing their chains by 0.5% may have still found that the next new chain going on, things are not meshing well and it's running rough. So I think SRAM have thought, look, rather than deal with issues like that, let's just push things out to 0.8%, and sure, they're going to have to replace stuff by then, but at least they've got a really good long span by the time they get to 0.8%. But running in chains from 0.5 to 0.8, things really go to shit, and you just don't want to go there, and you just don't want to guarantee that you have to replace everything. So, my belief is that they should, especially for the hard chrome trains, really have a chain checker that's, say, 0.3%. If I was me, and I replace my SRAM hard chrome chains at 0.3% as opposed to, or around that mark, as opposed to 0.5, because I do want to ensure that my next new chain goes on and everything is running perfect, silky smooth. But I can see where, from SRAM's perspective, having a chain checker that goes to only 0.3% as opposed to the normal 0.5%, that's a perception issue where they could be made fun of for having chains that only last 60% of the time as to the rest of the market. The reality is that wouldn't actually be true. SRAM hard chrome chains being taken to 0.3% as opposed to other chains going to 0.5%. almost assuredly a hard chrome chain to 0.3 is going to have lasted many more miles than other chains going to 0.5. So their actual wear lifespan to that would still be superior. It's just hard for them to explain that. So they've kind of gone the other way. That's my main theory, but I think that being the fact there's no way for SRAM to really defend the 0.8%, and there's no way they want to come out with a new tool, even if that's 0.5%, I think it's just going to stay for as long as possible, in their no doubt hopes forever, in the if we ignore it, it will all just go away basket. But we'll keep the pressure on it. There are others that, in media that really want to know the answer to this one as well. So we'll just keep pestering them, and fingers crossed we will hopefully get there one day. So preempting a question that I'll get on that, so if you're running the SRAM hard chrome chains, how do you chain wear check them to 0.3% or very close to that? Because the chain wear checkers out on the market do not have that mark. So that's, the top recommended chain wear checkers that we have as our default, so the Shimano TLCN42, the Park Tool CC4, and the Pedros, all of which are awesomely accurate to 0.5% and do factor in oversized roller because they have the ability to adjust themselves for that. That will give you 0.5%, and you may find yourself that is too late. There are not a lot of options for you to accurately measure a wear mark at around the 0.3% mark. There is the KMC digital checker, but honestly, they're really expensive. It is very hard to recommend a chain wear checker that's $250, and they do themselves need some calibration. I've got 3 of them, and all 3 of them do read differently to each other, and they've all had to be calibrated to an actual, a zeroing wear mark or wear measure. So it's not assured that the one that you will get will be measuring dead on or be, say, 0.1 out. You've always got the option of, obviously, of digital calipers. And apologies for me not demonstrating this, just don't have the time to try to do that. But basically, if you have digital calipers on your bike, so put the chain in the big chain ring and put it into a larger cog at the back so that the mech is putting some tension in the bottom span of the chain and pulling those links apart. You want to measure from the start of one pin to the start of the 10th pin. A chain is basically, or a link is 12.7 millimeters long. 10 links is going to be 127 millimeters long. Rounding it down for safety, basically 127.3 millimeters is going to be fairly close to 0.3% wear. Again, that's rounded down. It's officially going to be closer to 127.4. Any of those two, that's going to be a great time to replace your hard chrome chain. You do want to measure multiple spans of chain because chains never wear evenly, especially over many thousands of kilometers, and you always take the greatest wear span that you check, because that is the part that will start to do damage over time. The other option, which I'll get up on screen, and this is going to be, I think, the best option for mass market, even though it's not a cheap tool, but you buy it once and you've got it forever, and it's awesome. Let's have a look at that one. I think the Abitools LL chain tool is going to be your best friend. This has, as we can see here, a 0.25 wear mark. Perfect. And that's also for those that race and have a dedicated race chain. That can also be a perfect time to be moving your race chain on, as well, as it won't be as amazing after that point. So having 0.25, 0.5 and 0.75 graduations, that is brilliant. And it also does, starting the new frontier of being able to measure our lateral wear, and the more wear measures we get of that, we'll figure out more of what to do with that data over time. But chain wear checking, if you've got a great and accurate tool, it's just something that you can use quickly and easily, and that typically means it will get used quite often. Digital calipers and so on, it's just a bit more faff, and then it just sort of kind of always gets put off, and then often put off until it's too late. Yes, you can do full length. So a lot of people also are a proponent of just taking the chain off and doing a full length measure. And that's fine, but again, it's just not something that, the mass general population of cyclists is going to do. And it also doesn't pick up the fact that sections will wear faster than others. So if you're doing the full length measure, then err on the side of earlier. So err on that, 0.2 to 0.3% max, because there will be sections that are greater than that within the chain that you're not picking up by just measuring the full length. That tool is sold out basically everywhere, so at the moment, but just put a notification on it if that one appeals to you. Yes, it's expensive. It's a hell of a lot cheaper still than a KMC digital checker. It's awesome, and yeah, it's not like you'll wear it out. You will have it forever and hand it down to your children, who'll be able to hand it down to their children's children. It's a magnificent thing. All right, quick follow-up and a bit of a request, I guess, on this one as well. Just with regards to that little project we're trying to do around testing the efficacy as claimed for the fancy chain prep products like Silka's Chain Stripper and Ceramic Speed's UFO Drivetrain Clean. The initial attempt to assess those was not the right test to try to do so that failed. So the update from then is that I've been looking to try to get a grease and oil detection agent, because that's going to be just a really nice, easy and objective and hopefully visual way of showing if they're doing what they claim to do. I thought that would be pretty easy. I thought that they would be nice and easy to find and get cracking on. I have spent a lot of Google time over some coffee breaks, and I'm running out of links to click on. I can't seem to find anywhere to purchase a grease and oil detection agent. And that's really a surprise, because I thought they'd be used by quite a number of industries. Just be a fairly common thing to be able to get. There are UV lights. I think I mentioned this last week, but it's not assured that they will actually fluoresce the factory greases. So it's a bit of an unknown. And if I get stuck, we're going to have to attempt that path. But I really would just like to try to find basically what's a liquid or a strip grease and oil detection agent. If anyone out there knows what this product is and where I can get it, please let me know, so then I can jump on that and we'll be able to get cracking on assessing these products really objectively, and that would be a fantastic little thing to knock out. Just surprisingly come up a bit stuck. I just cannot find what I'm looking for, not even sort of close. So I've tried a lot of different Google searches of what I think they could possibly be called. But yeah, no dice. So yeah, help me out if you are in this area and you know what they are. Send me through some stuff. That would be great. Either pop it in the comments. I'll try to get to those as always. Otherwise, email at info@zerofrictioncycling.com.au. All right, lastly for today, just for some fun, just because I don't think I've thrown some data graphs at people for a while, and I don't want anyone to be getting withdrawals. I finally, again, just over some coffee breaks, went through, got the data together for the chain sales since I've started Zero Friction Cycling, just from a perspective of what's been the change or ratios of chains that we sell. Really just sort of focusing on the 10, 11 and 12 speed, because it is quite interesting over the years as to how that trend obviously has gone as the speeds have increased, and just the adoption towards the higher speeds. So let's have a look at a lovely little graph that I popped up over time. I don't know what I meant by popped up over time, put together over time, and popping it up on screen. All right, so we can see back when I started in 2016, 88% of the chains that we sold were 11 speed, 5% were 12 speed, 8% were 10 speed, and basically none back then when I was very small, below 10 speed. 2017, 82% were 11 speed, and only 1% were 12 speed. We're dealing with relatively low numbers, especially in 2016, so that sort of accounts for the difference there instead of it trending up. 12% were 10 speed, 3% were 8 and 9 speed, and 1% were track. 2018, 86% of chain sales were 11 speed, still only 1% were 12 speed, 10% were 10 speed, and 3% again were 8 and 9 speed, 1% were track. 2019, 84% of chains sold were 11 speed, 4% were 12 speed, 8% were 10 speed, 3% were 8 and 9 speed, 1% track. Things start to change really in the 2020s. So in 2020, 78% of the chains we sold were 11 speed, 12 speed is now up to 11%, 10 speed has dropped down to 6%, 8 9 speed again 3%, track, we had a good year there on track with 3%. 2021, 11 speed has now dropped to 69%, 12 speed is up to 19%, 10 speed is at 5%, 8 and 9 speed at 5%, and track at 2%. 2022, 11 speed are down to 62% of chain sales, and 12 speed are up to 30% of chain sales. 10 speed down to 3%, 8 and 9 speed 2%, and track chains around 3%. 2023, so 11 speed is down to 56%, and 12 speed is up to 34%. 10 speed is at only 4% now, and 8 9 speed 2%, track 4%. And basically, I've only sort of consolidated the data for the first 6 months for 2024. But yeah, so far, 11 speed is at 47%, 12 speed at 41%. So we're nearing parity between the two. 10 speed still down at now only 5%, 8 and 9 speed 3%, and track 4%. But no idea if that was of any interest to anyone, but it was of interest to me. Obviously, I sell a lot of chains, and we've seen the trends sort of changing, but didn't actually have the numbers together for it. Especially the last sort of 3-4 years, we've been over 1,500 chains a year, pretty much. So the numbers behind those percentages are fairly decent. So I think it's enough actual chain sale volumes to put together some solid percentages to show, I guess, how the market trend has gone from sort of 10 to 11 to 12. And yeah, 12 speed is obviously, could be by the end of this year, but definitely next year, I think, going to overtake 11 speed in terms of, raw chain sales for the first time ever. I would imagine that because we do sell a lot of chains, I mean, yes, we are small with basically, we're a business the size of really one full-time equivalent, but still around sort of 1,500 chains a year is fairly decent volume, such that I think it probably gives a good industry or market indication as to what the sales ratios are likely to be, I guess, as a broader demographic across the world. Obviously could vary in, certain places from one to another, but I think it's going to be relatively representative for a fair bit of what's happening out there. And yeah, I just found it interesting. Hope you did too. Oh, lastly, yeah, I do have the Silka speed chip and the endurance chip in ready for me to get testing. I don't know when I'm going to get to that. As much as I can, I'm going to, I didn't put those down well, I'm going to keep the test machines going through my holidays because, yeah, I'm just so banked up with testing. I've got 2 immersive waxes that we're testing at the moment. We're sort of, I'm approaching block 4 for both of them. So I've got block 4 to get through, which is always a bit of a slog. Block 5, which will be not too bad. Block 6, the extreme contamination block, is a hell of a slog to get through. And then once that's done, machines reset and new parts, and then both of those are going through the full suite of the single application longevity testing. So that's going to tie them up for probably at least 3 weeks further. That's optimistic. And on so that's 2 of the test machines, and the third one is nearing the end of a second wet lube test out of 4 wet lube tests that have been booked in. And after they have been completed, I think I will try to get at least one of the machines going to start on speed chip and endurance chip. So we'll keep updated, but yeah, suffice to say we are a little buried still on the testing. So on top of those, yeah, there's just a lot of other bookings to try to get to. So it's a bit of a balance. But strip chip and speed chip, I'm quite keen to see obviously how those results go versus the Silka claims. And also obviously interested because it's not until they ace the testing and match the claims, it's only then that obviously ZOC would look at stocking and officially recommending. So whilst we have a very strong track record with the Silka products being exactly that, and we stock a number of them, As we know, it's not always been the case, so we do want to make sure that that is all certified as claimed before we do so. Alrighty, that will be enough rambling from me. Sorry again, today was fairly poorly worded. I'm a little bit scattered and didn't have the time to retake stuff, so thanks for bearing with me, and I hope you have a great weekend. I've got my race number 302 on this weekend with a mountain bike XC race out at Cobblers. We had a great gravel event last Sunday, 105k one out near Minato. That was a grand old day, pretty windy, so it was a bit tough, but always an awesome event each year out there. So thank you to Morgan Cool for putting that on once again. And yes, I hope weather's good for you. Get some great riding in, and fingers crossed I'll be back doing a Q&A episode next week if I can.